Hey, what's up? Ian here, and this is the Simgot EW200. It is a single dynamic driver IEM, and the retail price for this is $40 and it's available on Simgot's website. So do check out the unaffiliated link in the description below. Sound for this is balanced, right? It's a balanced sounding IEM, and it's got a pretty solid sound. It's a pretty solid performer at $40, and it sounds smooth and casual, I would say, casual listening. In terms of the price to performance, this is a pretty good performer and sounds good for the price. Okay, now in this video I'm going to go through the accessories, design, build quality, fit and comfort, my sound impression, and then I'll give it a star. Okay, a star rating. Right, so let's start off with the specifications. Let me see. Yeah, as I mentioned, this is a single dynamic driver. It's a 10mm SCP diaphragm dynamic driver. The impedance is 16 ohms and the sensitivity is 126, and the frequency range is 10 to 50,000 hertz. Okay, I mean, effectively, we can't hear 10 to 50,000 hertz. So effective frequency range is 20 to 20,000 hertz. Okay, now as for accessories, you'll find a carrying pouch, right, a cable, and 3 different sizes of ear tips, and the IEM itself. Now in terms of design, this is a pretty nice design. It's a pretty elegant design. It's got a mirror finish, right, the faceplate. In fact, the entire shell is made of metal, as you can see, and the faceplate is it's got this mirror finish. You can look at yourself, you can see yourself. The thing about this, or mirror finish for any material, is a fingerprint magnet. That's one thing, but it's got this very elegant look to it, and a very high-end look to it. Anything that is flashy or polished or mirror finish, you know, it's got this classical flashy type of look to it. So yeah, very nice and elegant look to it. It's just that it's a fingerprint magnet. For the inner shell, it's pretty similar to its cousin, which is the EW100, I think. Yeah, and it's pretty similar. It's just that this one is entirely made of metal, except for the other one's made of plastic. Okay, so yeah, pretty nice shape lah. And the nozzle is part of the inner shell, and it's got metal filter. Now in terms of fit and comfort, it fits pretty similar to its cousin, which is the EW100. And yeah, it doesn't give me any pain or any discomfort when I'm wearing this, and I can wear this the entire day. As for the seal, it gives me a pretty good seal. I mean, the stock ear tips are pretty good quality, not too flimsy and not too hard as well. So pretty okay, good performing ear tips lah. And it gives me a pretty good seal. Right, so in terms of sound, drivability for this, I find that this is very easy to drive. I can drive this with my iPhone, my Android phone, iPad, all my dongles and DACs and DAPs. So pretty much anything, alright, you can drive this with anything. And my listening volume is at a very comfortable of 30%. Okay, at 30%, it's pretty loud on this. So I would say it's a very sensitive earphone. And for that matter, in terms of gear matching, let me just put all this one side. So in terms of gear matching, I get a chance to use this. I've had this for a long time, which is the iFi IE Match, and this is a dongle that cleans up pretty much a lot of sound, a lot of distortion, a lot of graininess from the earphones, right? So, or from the source. Okay, so this cleans up the sound, but the thing is, it reduces the sensitivity of the earphone. So because of, this is pretty sensitive, so with this it reduces the sound, but that's what I want. The volume itself, I want the volume to be a little bit less, but I want a bit more quality and a bit more less graininess coming out from this earphone, and this is a pretty good match. Okay, now in terms of gear matching, I would say because this is quite balanced, alright, so it can match with quite a lot of players, but I would match it with something more neutral sounding, like the high Bs. Natural sounding, sorry. Right, the high Bs are pretty natural sounding. The Sony's, which I tried, is a little bit too warm to me. A bit too. It gives it a bit too much color. But if you like that kind of sound, that very warm, heavy note type of sound, then yeah, this may be a good match. But I would prefer the high Bs. I mean, I've used it with this. I mean, my M15 S, and it works well. Okay, so because this is pretty balanced, it works with almost any player. But in terms of dongles, this is too warm for it. All right, the FC6 is too warm for it. I would match it with maybe the M15. Okay, so M15 sounds great on this. Right, I've already tried this. Yeah, I would prefer something in the middle. I don't want to give it too much color and too much warmth, or too little color or too little authority. Okay, so yeah, Shangling, not for it, definitely. Alright, so that's for the gear matching. Now let's talk about tone and timbre. The tone and timbre for this is pretty natural sounding. Not neutral, pretty natural sounding. The note weight is pretty balanced, not too heavy and not too light. It sounds casual. It doesn't sound fun, but it's got this very casual listening experience. Sometimes it can be critical, depending on the track that you listen to. Yeah, it could be an analytical type of tone and timbre, but most of the time it's purely, casual listening or experience on this. Now, in terms of technicalities, this I would say a pretty casual sounding and warm sounding, a bit warm sounding, and in terms of the soundstage itself, is pretty okay size. It's not a very huge or airy type of soundstage, and the staging that you hear is pretty natural. It's as if you are in the room itself, and it's got good depth and height. The width is alright, and pretty much natural sounding soundstage. It's not a holographic type of soundstage, but more frontal and more inside your head type of soundstage. So yeah, pretty normal soundstage I would say. Then in terms of sound separation and imaging, is pretty okay. In fact, pretty above average. I could identify where the instruments are and pretty much separate them pretty easily, or even on congested tracks. Okay, in terms of detail retrieval, these are pretty good. They are pretty good. I wouldn't say they are the best, but they're pretty good in retrieving most of the details from my tracks. Nuances can be picked up, but it's not the cleanest. So yeah, detail retrieval on this is pretty okay. In terms of resolution, actually these are pretty resolute. They are clean sounding, but I mean, okay, I don't hear any distortion or anything like that, or any graininess. But yeah, they are not the most resolute, I would say, but they are resolute enough. So in terms of resolution, this is definitely more resolute than most of the gear that I have, but not all of them. Okay. Right, so let's talk about sound signature. Let me just show you guys the graph. Okay, let me prop it up somewhere. Okay, so this is the graph of the EW200, and graph looks mostly balanced. Okay, mostly harmonious, and it is, right? It's pretty similar to the 7Hz 0, and in terms of the overall listening experience, yeah, it's not too bassy, it's not too much treble, it's just nice, it's quite smooth, it's not dark as well, and overall listening experience is pretty smooth. Okay, now in terms of sub bass, it's got good extension, good rumble, is well balanced in terms of the note weight. It's a little bit on the warmer side. It's got some color to it. It's pretty engaging, but it's not to a point whereby it's a bass hit level type of rumble. In terms of mid bass, it's thumpy. It's a bit more present than the sub bass. It's got a bit more thump as well, a bit more slam. but it's not, yeah, again, it's not a bass hit type of snare, and it's the note weight is a bit okay. I mean, it's balanced. It's not overly done. Right? It's just nice. Okay, in terms of the mid bass, and the slam is pretty impactful on certain tracks. Okay, for the mids, mids are actually a little bit more forward than most of the IEMs that I've tried recently. Okay, and it's got more presence as well. The note weight is just is normal, natural sounding, and pretty balanced, I would say. It's not too authoritative, and it's not too lean as well. And overall, the instruments, they sound clean, clear, and forward. Okay, now in terms of vocals, male vocals, they sound pretty okay, right? I wouldn't say they're authoritative. They are present. But they are not engaging, right? They are just there. They are good enough to be present. So in terms of vocals, right, I would say both the male and female vocals, they sound pretty natural on this. Nothing that stands out. Okay, it's no emphasis on whether the male vocal sounds better on this or the female vocal sound better. They both sound just nice on this IEM. So yeah, in terms of male vocals, they sound authoritative, very natural sounding. And in terms of female vocals, they've got that sparkle there, that bite there, that energy's there. They sound a little bit casual, but that's about it. So yeah, very nice sounding vocals on this. Now in terms of treble, the gain for the treble is actually pretty good, right? I like the energy on this. I like the presence on this, and also the overall forwardness and bite of the treble on this IEM. It's not too overly done. At the same time, it's not sibilant. It's not too harsh. In fact, it's not harsh at all, and it's not shouty at all. I listened to all my tracks on this. None of them sound shouty on this. And you know, it's quite a smooth type of treble. It's not too harsh. Okay, so overall treble is nicely done. The air of this is also pretty good, and it rolls off pretty naturally. So a good extension to the treble as well, as you can see. So yeah, and this part here, in terms of the presence, it dips down a little bit, and this will give it a bit more darkness to it, a bit more bass presence with the lack of treble presence. So yeah, it will give it a bit more warmth, but yeah, at the same time, it's bright as well. Okay, so a pretty balanced IEM, I would say, and this is actually pretty similar to again, as I mentioned, the 7Hz Cell Note 0, and with a better shell. As you can see, let me just show you the graph of the 7Hz and just compare, and there you go. Pretty similar graph. Okay, as you can see, the bass is almost there. It's maybe 1 or 2 dB difference. The mid bass is just a little bit more. It's got a bit more bite in terms of the treble, the gain to the treble, a bit less, presence, and overall a bit less airy. Okay, but that's just about it. If you look at this graph, and if you were to listen to this side by side with the 7Hz 0, you will not hear much difference. But I would say technicalities, this will sound a bit more cleaner in terms of resolution. But other than that, the tuning of these two, they sound almost similar. So if you're a fan of the 7Hz 0, this would be a good choice. I mean, it's more expensive, it's double the price, but it's got a better shell, a more expensive shell, as metal shell, right? And yeah, overall driver is also, I mean, it's a better quality driver, I would say, I think. But in terms of resolution, yeah, it's got a bit more resolution than the 0. Okay. Alright, so that's the sound signature for this, and let me just conclude and give my rating. So for this Simgot EW200, I'll give it a rating of 3 out of 5 stars. Okay, so this is a 3 out of 5 star IEM to me. It's a pretty good and solid performer for $40, and I do recommend it if you like the tuning of a balanced sound signature. Alright? And that's it for my video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video and learned something from this video. And if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. So that's it for now. I hope you guys have a great day ahead, and I'll see you again in my next video. Cheers.